Hello Gemini, and welcome to your monthly forecast. This is Kat. Welcome to my channel if you're a newbie, and if not, then you know, like, I'm going to start with these oracle cards. Well, actually I'm going to start with one and I'm going to finish with another one. So the first thing you're getting is spring equinox rebirth. It's absolutely a love card. Like, I mean, lovely card. Like, spring equinox is generally really talking period of March, so there's like something that you have been going through. So this is like March 20th, 21st, sort of like in Northern Hemisphere, September 20th or 21st in the Southern Hemisphere. But since this really doesn't apply, this is really to me making me think that you have been going through something that maybe you thought, well, it's just never going to end, right? It's almost like kind of like that it was the light at the end of the tunnel and you're like, it's coming closer, it's coming closer, it's coming closer, but it's just kind of like not doing. But this is basically the time for kind of like rejoicing if you really wish. It's sort of like the fresh breath of spring, or spring in your kind of like step is going to be really the name of the like basically month, right? So this is also the time when the light starts to increase, basically because the nature is emerging in many forms and shapes, and kind of like observation outside is extremely cheery. And even if you are in the southern one, right, like, I mean, right now that you're listening to that, this is still going to apply for you for some time in the future. This is clearly talking about the cycle of rebirth. Like, I mean, here we see the rendition of basically the fruitful time, but also the cycle of rebirth. It can be a challenging time. So I don't know, like, if some of you guys shed any tears of some sort, right? Maybe, you know, this is kind of like that gestation kind of like period, and those tears were like nourishing the earth. Maybe something really needed to be cleansed. Maybe there were like some stoppages, but now you're ripe and ready to emerge. So that which is no longer serving you is going to be basically just put to rest. So freshness and newness is going to become the new you. Sometimes birth can be painful, and it's particularly in that passage just before delivery, but you know, the result, what emerges, is really fresh and beautiful. So just like focus on that emergence, that, you know, just this is kind of like a last push that you are really going through. So let's go through the tarot, and then we are going to pick the other card a little bit later. So let's see what else is coming up for my Geminis this month. So Gemini for May transition. Geminis for May transition. And guys, don't forget to check my astrology as well. At the end of the video, I'm going to put it in the clickable space for you, so you don't really have to bother finding it on the channel. Make it easy. Whoa, you have Earth King over here. So this is like that grounding thing. It almost like it's, to me, connecting with this rebirth thing. And the first card is the Wheel of Fortune, something karmic. So yes, the new cycle is starting, and this is that pain that has to kind of come out. But Earth King is, to me, very positive energy. It's something that is possibly somebody who is supporting you through all this matter. It's like somebody who either has maybe financial influence, can provide finances in a situation, or it's simply somebody who is such a good mentor that you just simply know, well, I'm freaking guaranteed, I'm just going all the way up. So let's see what else. And then you have another karma card, Good Kitty, and lots of signs got this card this time around, because it looks like there is like this split. Many people from third dimension, they're going to go to the fourth and the fifth, where they basically be connecting heart with the other people, and that there is like this communication and understanding and compassion and empathy. So this is the card that really talks about it. This is the Judgment card, where this is it. Now what you did, like, this is the line in sand, let's kind of like do the alley kind of a thing, right? So this card can be both good and bad, because it's going to look in everything that you have done and sort of like subtly if you really wish. And so you might actually experience kind of duality, that certain things are going to go really, really well and be very successful, while others you're going to kind of like, you know, kind of realize, hey, you know what, maybe I need to approach things a little bit differently, kind of like this other time around. You also have 10 of Cups, and this is really interesting that this is really coming together. This is extremely good combination. It's really telling me that you are really refocusing on, like, really you're getting to the point of realizing that certain things you're doing, you're just doing out of obligation. You are doing them because that's the way you always did, that's the way your mom and dad did it, this is like the way your friends are doing it. But there's like something rebellious inside of you that is really telling you, well, you know, but I kind of like really want to be me, and I want to experience kind of like going in that direction. So there is like this kind of like whole essence of understanding what truly makes you happy, what truly is motivation, what comes really from the heart, not from obligation. The base over here is High Priestess, and this card really talks about high intuition. This also could mean you might get a tarot reading in order to kind of like clarify certain hunches that you have, and you're saying, oh my goodness, like my intuition, that like my 5D dimension is kind of like waking up, and I really want to find out what is in it for me. And then when you realize, actually, there's like nothing in it for you, but this is all about this unity and love and compassion and sharing, then all of a sudden you go, that's what it was. That was like this rebirth coming through. This is like kind of like almost like a guidance where you don't necessarily get all the information, but the information you get is sufficient enough for you to trust it. Even if that information comes through your dreams, comes through signs, you know, some people get these 11-11s kind of a thing, 2-2-2s, like repetition of the numbers. You might see repetition of the colors, but I also feel that some of you, you will be finding pebbles, and you will be also finding feathers. And when you see that, you just pick it up and thank it, because that simply means acknowledgement of the spirit guides and angels that are here to really help you. There's like a certain level of kind of like outer world guidance that is really coming through over here. So this is like really telling me about your creative nature. It is something from the past. Maybe you have been bubbly and you have tried many different things. Maybe you have been told that you're living in an illusion, that you really need to grow up and stabilize and all of this stuff. And maybe you have been really trying to do that very, very hard. But everything that you touched kind of like dispersed. And it was because you're supposed to go on a different path. You're supposed to learn something in order for this to prepare you for something else. What is about you is Fire Tom. So it could be somebody approaching you. It could be somebody in your life. This person is very interesting. This person is lots of fun. Very, very good lover. However, this person is also almost like the opposite to you. And that's why you're really attracted to this kind of like free spirit. It is like kind of like giving you this feeling that, hey, you know, why can't I do it? Why can't I try it? Maybe there is like somebody who you really want to quote unquote keep. However, the message this month is really to really loosen up, to really focus on basically your own growth or your own process. And usually when we hold onto some kind of control, and that means possessing people, things, it's almost like holding on a railway and trying to travel at the same time. It's kind of like impossible because you're static. So you really need to kind of like loosen the grip, right? So if this person is just coming in your life and not staying, that should be okay this month. So some of you might have this like friend with benefits. It just make everything very fluid. You're like this easy breezy sign. And there's like 9 of Earth. This is really telling me about security. It is like telling me that you're feeling that you really have to figure out what really works for you, what kind of like is the comfort zone for you. This card to me is a very important card, because when people reach this level, and you're clearly going to be here this month, it also means that you are then ready for coupling. You are ready to kind of like understand somebody else and absorb their pain and also share their happiness. To me, this is precursor of something that happens. So clearly you put that placemat for things that you really want to happen. You want this happiness, you want a release of the debts, of karmic debts, and you're like almost like getting to the point of saying, I don't want any of more of these twin flames and what and this, I'm tired of this, I want a clean slate. And almost like clean slate it is, and very, very kind of like wise clean slate going forward. And there's like Six of Sea. You're having a little bit of daydreaming. Like, look at that. There is like this little water flowing through you where you're like thinking of the past. Maybe this person is re-emerging from the past. It is possible. Maybe you see this person and you're saying, well, you know, let's try it again or something, or let's try it. But then you realize maybe he or she just wants to be single, is unavailable. And this is kind of like one of those encounters where you actually don't really necessarily mind somebody coming and leaving your life. And it's still kind of like not stabilized situation, but as I said, for you, this month is like really having a completely different flavor, right? Then your environment, there is like this Sea Queen reversed. You might have somebody who's going to be a freaking drama queen. It might be female, but it could be male. It's going to be somebody very demanding. That could be a third party situation here as well. But it could be a third party of a sort that not necessarily this person is truly involved. It's kind of like in between you and your partner. But this person somehow has an influence. Whether this is somebody who doesn't want to let go, or somebody who has, let's say, connections, kind of like an ex with a child. But somebody who clearly still haven't finished the story. Like, you know, like, I mean, one person finishes the story, a second person is still engaged, and then these invisible kind of like chains are still existing, and they're going to affect you because it's like a net if you step into it. And maybe this is why this person is not willing to go into any seriousness, because there is like a freaking tornado. This person is the one who turns on the tears on the moment. She's highly controlling emotionally. She if it's a she's going to be one of those women who will be super duper feminine and super seductive just to get their way. And that's all they want. It's really control underneath. If this is a man, for one reason or another, this man is trying to be everything and trying to almost like, not necessarily blackmail you, but kind of like get in a situation where they're always around you. They almost like are going to tell you bad things, but in a really nice way. You know what I mean? Like when people try to shun and kind of like chase other suitors, your suitors to you, so they're going to say, yeah, sure, if you like it, but yeah, it's okay, it's okay. And then it kind of like almost as if that you have to probe them, and then it'll say something negative. So be careful, be really careful, because your emotions are going to get triggered. You will get triggered. And maybe there's like also somebody who is doing something behind your back. So let's see the hopes and fears. You have Sky Queen. So this is you. You are waking up. You are saying to this Queen of Water who is having her major PMS issues, you're saying, you know what, I'm here, you're here, I'm up here, you're all the way down here. So when we're done with your hissy fit, just let me know. Because Sky Queen, she has no patience for anything. You're hearing tiger drinking. So Sky Queen is falling, and you're here too. What is this? Like we have the whole animal kingdom coming around me. That's good. So this is also kind of like good. There is kind of gathering of people, and I really think, and I know in spite of everything, you're going to be in a dual kind of mode. You're going to like to be in a group, like it could be even family. You will also want to be alone sometime. and you will be very, very sharp in order to kind of like get to the point. Some people might even say blunt, but it looks like if that bluntness come through, that's going to be some kind of like provocation. And you also like are not necessarily the sign who is like losing yourself in nostalgia, but like I can see that this is going to be exception this month. And I know it's not Mercury retrograde, that's when we do it. For you, this is really happening this month, but not to say that this is almost like your own private movie. You have your own private dreams, you really know what you want, but when you need to snap out of it, you're like back on the surface in reality in a second. And this is really heading towards a little bit of indecision. So you're having a 2 of Wands. So there are like 2 possible goals, which one to pick. It is really difficult, but you do know that you want certain goals. So this whole thing is still boiling down to that rebirth. It's still boiling down to things are brewing, things are happening. You're like kind of like realizing different facets of yourself. You're realizing your true needs and like wants and needs, and like there's like not that much about strategy, but this is more like about release, because it kind of like feels that something pulled you back, something maybe drug you behind you, and there is like this issue of you needing to peacefully kind of like vacate the space in order to give yourself a little bit more. Like you see, you have this 3 2s. The energy of 2, vibration of 2 is always that indecision, but it's always indecision because it comes between head and heart, and that's going to be really kind of like seesaw to some extent this month. So let me see this last card that we got here. You got mysticism. Now that's actually really different story in this particular deck. I mean, this is a third eye, so there is this vision. So this is again connecting over here clearly. It's more or less being observer, just pretty much like what this card is really talking about. The story here is about, I think, a poker game, where poker game invited a couple, a husband and a wife, and a man and a woman who didn't know each other. And then this phone call arrives, and you know, the guy says, well, this woman is just arriving, and everybody's looking. They don't see her on the list. I mean, she is not the friend of the man, she's not a friend of the woman, so there is like this mystery woman happening, right? So this is really talking about kind of like approach and suggesting approach. So it's kind of like probably going to be wise to be the observer. So don't respond to anything until you're certain. Like you might have these provocations, as I told you, coming through this month, but you know what you suspect most likely is true. But you know what, it doesn't mean like you have to truly engage, because Queen of Swords, she's really quick. It's kind of like the battle is over in a second over there. But at the same time, guys, do not ignore signs. Do not try to hold on things, right? Your motivation needs to be clarified. Even though if you're like debating between head and heart, at least you have these 2 options, and try to even narrow them down to 2, because look, you had maybe 7 of them. It was like so many different interesting things. So for actually like going down to 2 and to kind of like having the final stage is also pretty good. This also could mean that, you know, you're kind of like also reassessing what you really need out of life, out of relationship, out of that connectivity. And these could be a little bit uncharted waters for you over here. So it's the unknown, and the unknown is not easy, but definitely there is like no need and no longer necessary to fear anything. It's going to be okay to dream. It's going to be okay to go in a new direction. As I said, birth is painful, but it's also so lovely. You are going to be coming on the other end on the freaking top. So just remember this. The month is going to just go in completely different direction when you get to the end of it. So my dear Gemini, thank you for spending like this few minutes with me. And if you are not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Also join my social media, and that way you can get your daily dose of tarot. And lastly, if you want a reading with me, contact me at cattarot.ca, or my email is down in the description, so you can check it out there as well. So your comments are welcome. Looking forward to hearing back from you guys. You buckle up. Don't give up your sense of finding yourself, because others are going to be very jealous of that. So release what you don't need and keep what you gain, as that's going to be very important. Love you, Gemini, and I'll talk to you soon.